Hello and welcome to the Fork in the Road again. Today I'm speaking with S.R. Chappell or Raquel Chappell. So I first met you online a while back in the days of Voice NFT, I think it was, and noticed your amazing collage work and also your illustration work. And we've just been kind of in contact ever since. And recently, so you do collage, you do illustration, you do a bit of AI, you do AI animation, and and also AI music. I found out as well from looking at your videos. And you've also got a book, published book of poetry, inked art poetry. And yeah, would you like to, firstly, welcome to the podcast, and would you like to tell me a little bit about your book of poetry?
Well, oddly enough, that's kind of how I started getting into the digital art. Um, I guess it was 2018. I kind of started, I kind of became handicapped. Not like, horrible
Hmm.
handicap, but I definitely qualify for handicapped assistance. And I just started wanting something to do with my time, you know?
Hmm.
So, uh, I wrote poetry, and I think my first published poem was age 9. It was
Wow.
a poem I wrote to my mother for Mother's Day, and it was published. Um, but, I just kind of wrote poetry when it was Valentine's Day, birthdays, stuff like that, in a card, homemade card. So
Yeah.
I decided to, and I wrote in my journal a lot of poetry I never shared. Um, and I just started seeing on Instagram like poetry profiles. I was like, I can do this. So I
Mm.
decided to challenge myself to a poem a day. And that's
Wow.
how my poetry book kind of got started, was that um, I just started doing the challenge for myself. And then that's kind of how where my digital art started, because you have to make these little fantastic little slides, that people can look
Yeah.
at. So I started laying on my poetry with little images. Um, and eventually I just had enough for a book. And I actually already have another book ready, but I just haven't published it
Oh,
yet.
great. Yeah.
I get a little sidetracked with my art, and it's hard to focus on anything
Mm.
else. Um, but that's just how I got started, and I'd always been writing poetry. I fell in love with poetry at Dr. Seuss. I mean, that was
Yep. Nice.
my
Yeah.
introduction. It's most
That's a
people's
pretty good place to
introduction, and then
start.
you go into Shel
Yeah.
Silverstein, and then you get a little more adult taste like Emily Dickinson, and you start. But
Yeah.
yeah, I always just loved poetry. I don't know. Um, Particularly when I was younger, it was about the rhyme. But now I've gotten
Yeah.
into more free flow. Those tend to be a lot of my favorites now. Um,
Yeah.
but I still
Well,
do image prompt poems with my art often. Not all the time, but often.
yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of in
And
the
when you
description of
first,
most of my art, you'll see some sort of poetry.
yes, I've seen that. Yeah. Yeah. And when you first published that book, did you have to like, I know when I first started out making my art public, it was like a massive thing for me. Like, was there any difficulty in kind of like putting your like, because it's a very personal thing, writing poetry, and I'm just wondering, how did you feel putting it out into the world, and how was it first responded to straight away?
Yeah, the first poetry I put out was very raw, very emotion oriented. Unlike now, it's kind of just based off the image, a loose story. It's not really
Hmm.
emotional and raw. So yeah, in the beginning, I had very a lot of concerned people, family, are you okay? Was a lot of the,
Yeah, yeah,
I really do. I'm kind of, it's either really mushy gushy love from me or just the
hmm
darkest of dark. And there's kind of no in between unless it's this art
yeah,
prompting where I kind of tell more of a just a kind of, simple story to go with it. But my poetry
yeah,
can be one of the two. It's either so gushy, it's like, ugh, or it's so
yeah.
dark, it's like, oh my God, what's going on in her head?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
I do like art in that manner more over poetry, is that I don't get as much, are you okay?
Yeah.
Though it would be quite
Because
enticing to my brain to do something that's like, are you okay with my art?
and so your poetry led to you becoming a visual artist. Where did that start? Did it start with collage work or digital work, or what were your first pieces like?
My first pieces were basically just, you know, what do you call stock art that I'd taken and putting on a slide with my poetry. Um, but then I started getting where I wanted more original images on my stuff. So then I
Yeah.
started doing a lot of photo manipulations and collage. Um, and then that just kind
And
of led me to art, which was actually prompted through Instagram, the voice advertisement.
right, okay, yeah.
I was like, which it was funny because I kind of I watched a 60 Minutes, I believe it was, on
Mhm.
Beeple.
Oh, yes.
How it was the big, I believe it was 2020 this happened, I believe. And it was kind of on my back burner about
Was
this
that his
guy.
everyday's sale of his everyday's work? Was that one?
Well, he had the first NFT that sold at Sotheby's for like $2
That's the
million.
one, yeah.
dollars. So that made like the news. It made 60 Minutes, and I watched about this and I thought, wow, just for some digital work that isn't even like tangible hanging on somebody's wall, how can it be valued for this much? It was just so
Yeah.
intriguing to me. Um, and I don't know, it was about 6 months later I saw this NFT ad and I was like, oh, these NFTs. And it was advertising that it was like sustainable NFT at green, and I was like, oh, that's up my alley.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of how I got started into the art. Was from my poetry, doing those slides, and then also being on IG and seeing this advertisement for Voice. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Voice
it's
was.
interesting. And for people listening to the podcast, Voice was a NFT platform, a really good one, a really easy to onboard you if you're not tech savvy. Like me, I was always going, oh, well, I got to do a crypto wallet and all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of like a bit all confusing for me. But Voice was a very easy onboarding process. It was supposedly green and clean, and it had a really nice vibe. And it's amazing the amount of artists who I met back on Voice who I still talk to today. So those
Those are my
NFT
closest
platforms,
artist friends are all from Voice practically. I still talk to them, even though we've
yeah,
all kind of gone our own separate ways. Some of us have followed to other platforms but yeah,
yeah,
I've made some pretty good friendships from the Voice platform.
yeah. And how do you find so now that that's gone and there's like so many other platforms now, looking at your your website. You're on so many NFT
I don't
platforms.
even think they're all listed. I've got to update that.
I know pretty much if it's an NFT platform, I search for your name and I'll pretty much find you. And I'm just wondering, is that a tactical approach in terms of being able to make enough money with all of them combined, or is it more of a social connection thing for you with other artists? What do you get out of the NFT space at the moment?
Um, well, to me, I I don't think I would be able to sell art otherwise. I'm not one of these people that's going to go set up a booth at the flea market. Um, I really hate sales. And although you
Yeah,
really do have to shill yourself in this market, it's not in person where my social anxiety hits in. It's um it's just a really easier way for me to sell my art without having to step out into the world and go hustle it, wherever I'm trying, whatever booth or art fair or whatever. It makes it a lot easier, especially me not
yeah,
having to leave the house to do that.
yeah. And are there any platforms that you would recommend, like someone just starting out like you were when you first started out, like because it can all be very daunting and confusing. Well, what kind of platform do you think, because you've got experience of so many, what would be the best place to start, do you think?
I mean, I really was like, oh no, when voice ended, and I just didn't know where to go because there are so many to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably hit an eighth of the market out there as much as I'm everywhere. Um, but I went to Object after Voice, and I will
Hmm.
still say they are probably my favorite platform. Just, it was a little hard onboarding, and I hope that they've fixed that by now. I've been with Object for quite a few years now. Um,
Yeah.
well, ever since a voice ended, I've been with Object. Um, I think they're really affordable to mint with. Um,
Hmm.
and you're not giving I mean, you can, you're not giving your NFTs away like some sites that, it's fun to be on because you can collect,
Yeah.
and that's nice, but you're not really making any money. You are getting your artwork out, but it's nice to kind of trade art with other artists. Um,
Yeah.
but you are actually making money on Object. And it's
Yeah.
not expensive to mint like it is on OpenSea. And I have been on
Hmm.
OpenSea for just as long as I've been on Object. I may have went there first. Um, but I still yet to sell an NFT on OpenSea.
Yeah, right. Okay, wow.
And it's
I mean, I suppose
expensive.
that's
It's expensive
yeah,
to mint
yeah.
there. Um,
And from what
and
I've
the other day
heard, they
I
used
tried
to
to
have
mint one with
yeah,
Bitcoin. Oh my
yeah.
God, $204 to mint something. I was like, see you,
Oh,
bye.
wow.
As much as I wanted to
Oh,
be
that's
part of the
incredible.
Bitcoin minting, I just couldn't afford
Yeah.
it. I don't know. I don't know what kind of pockets these people have that are minting there, but
Yeah.
it's expensive. Um,
Yeah, and from what I've heard about OpenSea as well, I mean, a lot of platforms will allow you to have a royalties whenever your work sells down the line. So every time your piece of art sells, you'll get like, a 10% or
yeah,
5% or whatever royalty every time it sells. But I think, from memory, some artists are saying that OpenSea have cut that out. I don't know if you can put that in to the contract
I have it in my
when you're setting it
contract.
up, but You do? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you sign up with their, I think it's their basic contract, if you don't pay attention to the royalties part and change that, then yeah, you're not going to get your royalties, your secondary royalties. But I changed it. But they don't let you put a lot. I think it's just 10%.
Yeah.
Um, which I try to do 15 or 20
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people think that's
Well,
high,
it's
but
yeah,
it is what
but
it
it's good
is.
if you can do it. I mean, when you don't get too much for your art in the first
Yeah,
place,
when
then
especially when
then
I'm not originally selling it for that much, I usually put a higher royalty rate on it.
yeah. The zero one NFT platform is interesting. You mentioned like giving your artwork away. And I've been on zero one. I'd like to know your thoughts on it, but I've found so it's got like two platforms. There's like the creators platform, and then there's the marketplace platform. And so the creators platform, you kind of upload your art, your mint your NFT, and
Hmm.
um, and from there, people can collect how many other copies you want, and they're usually other artists because they're minting there as well. But from there, when that collects out, there's a zero one marketplace where you can then sell to collectors, and
Oh,
that surprisingly has been the best place for me so far
you doing
is then
secondaries
selling them
there?
on the zero one marketplace.
You're
So
actually selling them there?
um, yeah, I'm selling other people's art NFTs, and I'm also selling my own on that platform. So
Oh,
um,
I think I need to check that out because I thought there was something about the platform that I was probably missing, and I think that's it. Is
yeah, because otherwise you're just giving away your artwork. And for me, a lot of the stuff with the NFTs, I don't personally make hardly any money out of it, but I find it is a good for networking with other artists, and also it's a bit of a promotional thing
I
um,
did notice
for
that
your
the
actual art.
NFTs that I collect on Zero One end up in my OpenSea, I believe, as well.
Yes, yeah, because I'm not sure exactly how that works,
I'm not either.
but
I'm always
but I
amazed. I'm like, oh, this was on whatever platform. What's it doing here?
yeah. But I think then you can like that will go to your wallet, and then you can sell them on the open market as well, because zero one's a bit of a closed system. Yeah. And sorry, go on.
I do think there's are you on Remax? Or Remake? I'm not
No, no.
That's kind of an interesting. You can give it away. People can tip you. You can also charge. Um, but it's a newer platform to me, and I'm not real sure where I stand on it yet.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
have made quite a like I don't know, $140 in tips since I've started in mm, February, I believe. February. So
yeah, yeah,
but there's a lot of markets I'm testing out right now.
yeah. And I think it's good to be across at least several of them. I've decided I've got three at the moment, because I've gone from like I went from the Voice NFT platform, then I went to Revel, which
Oh, Revel. Yeah,
um
that was
and
so
and
disappointing.
I know, I know, like so Voice closed down, they closed shop, and then I went with Revel for a while because I saw a few of you were on there, and I was really getting into that as well. And then that one stopped, and I thought, man, the next time I'm gonna find
That
a
was such
few,
a fun
and
platform
just kind of
too. I don't
yeah.
Somebody caused a
It,
stink.
yeah, it was more of it kind of gamified it a bit, and still had that really rich kind of social
Yeah.
interaction as well, which made it nice. But yeah, so diversifying your NFT streams, I think, is a good thing, because you can lose a lot of work. You can, make reasonable amount of money, but then if the platform closes, you've lost it. It's gone. So
Yeah, I've kind of gotten
um,
the habit a
I've
lot.
been burnt.
of doing, like, especially just with my AI. Well, I've gotten to where I do it with my collage too sometimes. Um, I'll mint the still of it, but then I'll go and animate it and mint it somewhere else just in case
Yeah. Yeah.
this platform shuts down. I still kind of got the artwork somewhere else that's like, it's different, it's animated um,
Mm.
instead of a still frame. But yeah, I feel like it kind of makes me worry a little less because sometimes I feel like you lose. So I know that they go to people's wallets, but let's be honest, a lot of people aren't listing their purchases. So when you do
No.
get a secondary, it's nice. Um,
Yeah.
because not everybody in fact, I'd say a very small fraction of people actually relist their purchases, which I find
Yes.
so odd.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
relist
Well,
everything
yeah, I relist as much as I can. I was surprised
unless
with the
it's on
zero one
OpenSea
plat.
and I can't afford it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, seriously, asking artists to pay, large amounts of money to just get their artwork on the platform is just not sustainable. I don't think for many artists. I don't really want to be involved in that kind of
Yeah, I want
situation
the
where
free
you're just,
mint. I love the free mints, but there are
yeah,
a few of them now. So few.
yeah,
And they're
yeah,
mostly
yeah,
on the platforms that you're giving your artwork away when you can free mint.
yeah. I suppose that's the price you pay, isn't it? So,
Yeah, we just
um,
do those secondary sales that nobody ever lists.
yeah, yeah. Oh, but one thing I was going to say is with the zero one platform, like it wasn't until like I've been using it for a while and I thought, how is this beneficial? Like you're just giving it away and you're swapping and I thought, how does this work? And then I realized they have a marketplace and I went on the marketplace. You should do this because you don't know what you've got sitting there. I went on the marketplace and a bunch of people had listed my stuff and it had actually sold and I actually had money in the wallet there, and I just went, "Whoa! I didn't even realize this had
Oh,
happened."
wait.
So
So
that
that
was
doesn't go
cool.
directly to your wallet. It's in some marketplace wallet.
Well, I don't have a crypto wallet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Wow.
I'll need one if I'm gonna want to withdraw any money any day. But yeah, I haven't set that up. So I'm just going off my emails. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking that out.
Well, Coinbase, you can
I
connect to almost a lot of things now. I noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a mental block for me. I just need to do it because otherwise I'm going to lose money again next time something shuts down. Um, so getting back to your collage work, I notice you do. I'd be interested to find out about your process. Some of your work looks like it's cut out. Some of it is. Where are you? What's your process? Are you sourcing, you're creating AI images? Are you cutting out of actual magazines? Or how's it work?
I think when I got started, I did do a lot of AI and cut out the AI because I wanted original images. But um, now I don't do that as much anymore. Um, but yeah, I've got magazines galore, and I just sit here at night sometimes and put on something on the TV and sit here and I just cut my little heart out. And I just kind of
Yeah,
I I do a lot of that, and then I have these folders that I put different things in. I just kind of categorize them, whether they're people or animals or by
okay,
color or
yeah,
whatever. So I keep like a handy, nice stock like that. But I also do digital collages. So I
yeah,
use stock images that are, you know, free stock images, and I just
yeah,
layer them up. Sometimes
yeah,
I even do I love doing abstract paint, but I just can't seem to get it to sell. So often I use
Right.
it for backgrounds. And I even use it
Yes.
in my
Okay.
digital. Like I'll do a painting and then I'll take it and do digital collage on it. Often I do
Hmm.
analog collage on it. I'm a little all over the place when it comes to my art. So,
I think it's great though. It's got so many layers to it. I've noticed some of them you're using, it feels like the text. I don't know if it's actually your poetry or whatever, I can't tell, but it's in the actual, you've painted over
yeah,
some pages out of
sometimes
books
I
and
just
things
sit
like that.
down, I'll write something and then paint over it. So, it's just kind of muddled in there. Um, but yeah, I don't stick to one technique. I feel like I'm still learning, so there's so much I want to play with. Like
Yeah,
I just recently started playing with pastels. Um, and I'm really digging it. I didn't think I would, but I'm really
yeah,
digging
right.
the pastels. Um, and
But it's
acrylics. I
amazing
love
where
my acrylic
your,
paints.
yeah, it's amazing where your poetry has taken you creatively and like personally, because I suppose it's a mixture of your poetry and Instagram or other social channels that kind of like made you think, oh, okay, I need an image now. And so you've gone into collage, you, you're doing your illustration work, and now you're even animating. Some of your animations are look amazing, and also you're creating music. So like it's made you've bloomed out of all these different directions. I find it a really interesting journey. Like,
When it comes to
how do you,
creativity, there's almost too much. I, I like I can't get to all the things I want to do fast enough.
yeah, how did you come across, so I suppose you were talking about how you were animating your work. How do you go about that, and what kind of, what's your
Well,
process
they
for that,
have
or what platforms do you use to do that?
there's I have a couple different ways to do animation too. You got the standard
Yeah.
AI generative animation where you can take your image and then put a generative prop to it to make the AI make it do whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and then there's another type of animation that I do where it's like flip booked. You know, you have
Right.
different,
Oh,
you
yes.
draw a
Yep.
different image and it's like the old school flip book. You just draw
Yeah.
different
You get each
images
frame.
and then when you put it together, it play it as a video, it's gonna like moving art. Um,
Hmm.
and then there's another little program I use called PixArt, um,
Hmm.
where you can put little points within your image of what you want to be still. And you could put motion and like say I have clouds. So
Yeah.
I can put little directional stirrings of how I want
Hmm.
those clouds to move and like maybe keep the image
Yeah.
still. That's just a simple app called Pick App, I believe.
Pick
Um,
app. Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, that's about the three different ways that I tend to do my animations.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't experimented with any of those yet. With my drawings in Procreate, I use to illustrate. There is quite a good animation thing where you can copy and paste all the frames and then adjust them slightly. I did one for my Uncommon Animals of the Alphabet where just like the animals blinking, and I could write the text up on the screen.
Hmm.
And that's quite simple. I mean, it is time consuming, but it is quite simple to do. So so that's how I've done mine. And also I found with NFTs, it's funny because things like NFTs and AI and all that kind of encourages creativity, I think. It certainly encouraged my creativity because I thought I'm seeing other people like animating, just doing a little bit of animating on their illustration. And I'm thinking, how are they doing that? It's kind of encouraging to kind of take it further. And, as you say, you can have a still image on one platform and then you can have an animated version of it on another platform. And that way you're still keeping the piece original. Yeah, so, and what platforms do you like using to create your AI work?
Um, Hal Halio, Hailou is
Hmm.
probably one of my favorites right now for the animation. There's
Yeah.
also a Luma, Luma, Lu- I always
Oh, yeah.
always
Yep.
forget their names. Once I type them in my Google, they kind of come up, But I just use like the
Yeah, yeah,
little
yeah. Yeah.
.com places. I don't really want another app on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah. But I found that so anyone looking up on your Instagram, what do they put in? SR Chappell or Rocky's Creative
That's on
Creators?
Instagram is
Yeah, yeah, what's
Rocky's Creative Creations, I believe.
that's right, yeah. Yeah. We'll link it in the show notes, but just seeing your I don't know whether you call the series the drowning series or there's these but they're just absolutely beautiful. These so it'll be a woman in water and their hair flowing, and sometimes there'll be like flowers or whatever submerged in
It
there.
was my
They just
I did a Drowning in Poppies series. It's probably my
yes,
favorite AI I've done so far. Um,
yeah,
I just love that. It's got the music and everything with it, and
yeah,
it's so emotional. Like when you see it, it definitely is
yeah,
my favorite. I can't believe that series did not go to the moon. I did sell
yeah.
like it's funny, I've got a lot of those on object.
Hmm.
I sold like the big one where I broke that into probably 6 or 8 different videos. And then there's
Yeah,
one that's all 6 of them together. That one sold. Um, but all the little mini ones where it's like an individual frame did not quite sell. And I just don't get it. I'm like, they're so pretty.
yeah,
But somebody did buy the
yeah,
big one for like, I think $40, something like that. Um,
yeah.
but I
If
can't
if
believe
you
that
entered,
set hasn't sold yet. It's crazy.
yeah, no, I find it amazing that work. And I also love your other work, which is, I mean, something which really appeals to me is the real kind of retro theme you've got on a lot of stuff. I mean, I mean, I don't know if you have a lot of retro magazines or whatever,
I love
but you've got,
retro. It's so the
you've got some,
vintagey pinup girls and stuff like that. Just love it.
yeah, yeah, that looks very cool. And you've got, some of your other AI work was like these kind of very strong women in like roles in the army and things like that.
That was
And
fun.
they, and what,
That was on Revel. I loved that series. It's my
yeah, and
Girls Can Do series.
yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, and that real retro feel to it. And yeah, and I think Revel kind of inspired that idea because whenever you had to release do an NFT drop, you would have to release 3 images in a collection. Like there would be one which would be a standalone piece, like a one of one, and then there would be like a common one which you could have 10 of, and the other one you could have 5 of or something. I forget exactly how it went, but it kind of encouraged that creating sets kind of thing,
They taught me, that
which,
was the thing about Revel is I am very, because I do so many different art things, I'm all over the place. and I find it real hard to focus on a collection. Like a
Yeah.
lot of these people want collections. They want, and I'm a one-on-one gal. But
Yeah,
Rebel
right.
really
Okay.
taught me how to try to, and I think that's really when I dove into AI being like
Mm.
standalone and not doing all this cutting and pasting and putting it together somewhere else. Uh, Maybe taking it to Photoshop and fixing some fingers or something. But um, I did a lot of boob jobs on that.
It's yeah,
Jobs and
and it's all
fingers and fixing noses. I did a lot of that. Teeth.
yeah,
Being
I
plastic
can't
surgeon
quite
in
get
another life.
yeah. Yeah, there's
But they
trying
did
to get
teach
enough
me how to do a
fingers
collection.
is yeah,
I
yeah.
still can't
Yeah,
stick with doing that, but yeah, it's hard doing the collection.
yeah.
I get
I kind
bored
of like it.
easily.
Yeah, okay. And
You
also, if
know,
you're doing, if coming from a background of doing collages where like nothing is really going to be the same, because unless you've got all the same, you've got identical copies of the magazines and you can get the same images out and redo them. But yeah, I can see why Europe would be a one of one kind of
yeah,
person.
I get even when I try to do collections, like with just I actually started trying to do a collection with collage, um,
Mm,
and I think I'm good, but it's really slow. I can't just pump them out. Um,
yeah,
but I think I grabbed a folder where I did try to start doing collage collection.
yeah,
But God, I don't even know what I've done with it.
yeah.
Um
I've kind of been inspired by what you've done with some of the collages, is because I
oh,
do a lot of
these are starting to be a
yes.
little collection of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So
that one's
this
got
was
the one you.
Wordsmith. Uh, what was
Mm,
this? Oh, Wordsmith and hoodie, Wordsmith
yeah,
and glasses. So
yeah. And that's got the text in it as well, isn't it? The text is hidden
yeah,
in it.
these are
Yeah,
like painted book pages that
yeah,
I've just torn
yeah,
out, painted, and then I've torn them and pieced them together.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
that's my new. I'm trying to do a collection with collage. We'll see
yeah,
how it goes.
yeah. And you've got some physical pieces. Have you ever done any kind of put your work out anywhere into an exhibition or on a public space? Either your digital work on screens or your physical work hanging on the wall at all?
I've had a couple digital ones. Um,
Yeah.
and I was invited for something here in Atlanta, but I just didn't have any. I don't know. I don't feel like I was ready for it yet.
Okay.
I work on like I basically just work on cardstock for the most
Okay.
part.
Yeah.
Though
Hmm.
I bought some canvases here recently and canvas boards. So I
Yeah.
just feel like if you're going to be in a show, maybe it should be a little more elevated on canvas,
Yeah.
framed. I just wasn't
Yeah.
ready. I just wasn't ready. Maybe one day, but I do have some invitations that are open
Yeah.
invitations here in Atlanta. Um, so when I
Yeah. And is
actually
that
feel
for
like I'm
digital
ready, I'll
work?
probably do it. What was that?
Is that for digital work?
Um,
Like your
no, it
NFTs?
was an actual gallery where
Okay.
it would
Yeah.
be physical and they didn't have TVs and stuff. But most of the
Yeah.
galleries I've been in so far have just been digital with my work on a TV.
Yeah. Yeah. because we don't have that. I haven't seen that much around Australia. In terms of, I see it a lot in America where people have got their NFT work displayed in some kind of gallery and it's up on the screen. And I think that's really cool. I wish I had more of that kind of stuff here in Australia, but there might be
Oddly
some that I'm
enough,
not
most
aware
of
of
the
yet. But
exhibitions I've been in have not been state ones. I was in the Beeple Gallery when on election day. Um,
oh, cool.
let's see. There was a gallery in Bali that I was in.
Yeah.
Um, where was that other one at? Like Spain or some. Oddly enough, they have not
Oh, cool.
been.
Yeah.
The Beeple one was the one that I was in a gallery that's here in the States.
Yeah, cool. And did you apply did you enter your work into that, or how did that work? How
Yeah,
did you
all
get
those
your work in
typically
there?
come from these open calls on Twitter, typically, is how I
Okay.
get those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if it
So
wasn't for
that's a good
social
pl
media, I wouldn't be in those galleries.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a good tip. So yeah, and also talking
That is
about
the
NFTs a
best
lot.
tip. Twitter has the best open calls. I know, a lot
Yeah.
of us
Yeah.
feeling kind of icky about Twitter in the current
Yeah.
days, but I just can't leave it because those open calls are so good.
Yeah. Yeah, but see, I mean, obviously, politically, well, Twitter and it's now X, and a lot of people have left, but also, it still remains the best NFT space. I know there's Blue Sky. Are you on Blue Sky? That seems to
Yeah.
be that was actually a division of that was actually created out of a department in Twitter at
Yeah.
the time. And so it has a very similar feel. So yeah, if you've got, I don't know if it works as well, but I'm on both. But if you've got
I'm
problems
not
with X, you
seeing
can
the
be
open
on
calls
Blue
and stuff
Sky.
on there like I do on
Yeah,
Twitter. Um,
yeah,
but maybe it's just new. I'm still getting my legs on Blue
yeah,
Sky.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I know also with your creation, so you've gone through all these different formats, and you've also create music for your pieces as well. How do you go about doing that? You got any musical training, or is it something you can generate through AI, or how are you doing that?
oh yeah, these are just AI generations. Um,
Yeah,
though, in the past, I have been in a band, just a
yeah,
singer, uh, played the piano as a kid, very horribly, not great. Um, but I do read music, so it probably
hmm,
helps a little bit having some sort of knowledge. But I imagine you could probably have no knowledge and use these AI platforms and figure it out at some point. You just got to do a little reading,
yeah,
know how to speak to these computers.
yeah, and also know what you like. I think for
It
those
helps to know
interested,
some
I
music terminology too. If you don't really know
yeah,
how to describe music, then you're really not
yeah,
probably going to do very well.
but but I've got a hack for that. So like the opening music for this podcast
Hmm.
is kind of like a really rock punk kind of thing, which has my words about the fork in the road, um,
Hmm.
being a starving artist at the fork in the road, and I know the style I wanted, and I just go in and you can say I want you can name a few people without copying them, like name the artists or whatever, and I go, how would you describe their music? And then this is in Chat GPT, and then you get a description uh of their music as a prompt,
Oh, that's
and
good. That's good. I generally think of that
yeah,
myself, but I never thought about using Chat GPT to kind of help me cheat a
yeah,
little bit. If you don't know,
yeah, yeah, and then you can go, like add horns or add like a fuzz bass to it or something like that. And then, but like that opening track for the podcast, I did about 60 versions until I came up with something I was happy with, because obviously it's going to get played a lot. But yeah, I found that very fun. That platform I used was called Udio. What
You,
platforms do you use?
um,
IDO, I think it is. Yeah.
Suno, S-
Okay. Yep.
I think it's Suno is the one that I probably use the most. There's another one I can't quite call the name of it though, but Suno I use
Mm.
often. It's pretty good.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's cool.
And
So
what one did
going
you
into
say
the
you used?
physics,
Udio?
Udio. Yeah. I
Udio.
can send you the link for that one. I find that really good. Yeah. Um, and going from all your digital work, it translates across to, like, obviously you've got your book, but you're also doing a lot of physical products on Redbubble. I think you've got about 260 or something designs up on there.
I
How
need to
how how are you
update it,
finding
but
that?
I'll probably delete a
Yeah,
bunch too when I do that.
yeah. How are you going with Redbubble? Because that's my main source of. I mean, that's how I
Redbubble
do
well there.
print. It's 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 very hard to work out how to get it all, like the keywords right, description right. But one thing I've started to do, speaking of AI, is I'm using ChatGPT to write my
The description.
title of my work, and my description, and also all the keywords, because you get 15 keyword tags for each piece. And through ChatGPT, I say this needs to be optimized for Redbubble SEO, for people looking for this kind of artwork, blah, blah, blah. And I think that has definitely helped, because, you create your art and then you go to put it in a place to sell it, and all of a sudden you need to describe it, and you need to come up with all these keywords and that. And as a visual artist, you can often be left completely, I don't know, if there's a cat in it and there's a dog in it and there's like, but it's like computers
I'm
talking to
probably
computers.
not
They know
using
what they want.
I'm probably not using enough keywords because it's in my mentality with social media that we should use as few tags as possible. Uh, because when you get too many,
Yeah.
then it kind of gets a little jumbled. So I
Yeah.
generally think I probably only use about 5 tags. So maybe I need to put more tags
Yeah.
on my
Yeah.
stuff. I really only sell cards and
Yeah.
stickers. Cards and stickers. I'm like, when is
Yeah.
somebody going to buy the canvas?
Yeah. Yeah. No, well,
The
actually, no, I have
shirt.
sold one. Yeah. Yeah. It's, and the one problem with doing, I mean, it's really tricky. We live in a time where, you can have all of your work print on demand. You can have NFTs. You can do all this. You don't even have to touch for work. But the only problem is that everybody wants a piece of it. And by the time you're finished, you get a very small profit. Like from my Redbubble sales, if I sell a $35 or $40 t-shirt, I'll get about $4.50. And I sold a sticker recently, and so
You
like
got a
the
whole 30
sticker's
cents for
three
that
three
sticker.
three three $3. Oh no, I got about $1 surprisingly.
Oh,
But in terms of being a thriving artist, it is a tough road, and whether I need to be on more print on demands, like Printful, which you can have for your artworks, and also Teespring for shirts and things like that. Whether I need to be across all of those, or whether it's a fact of you need somehow some money behind you so you can actually go, okay, I'm going to buy a bunch of t-shirts, or I'm going to do that book run like with your book and say, you know, instead of Amazon getting a lot of the money. You can print a box of books, but you've got to have that money in the first place to be able to like invest, and you got to invest in the right things that that sell. That's a tricky balance, I think. So
Yeah, I think that is why the print on demand is so appealing. Whether it's the book
yeah,
or Redbubble or, it's just makes it I'm I'm willing to give them my just take my little tiny portion for the ease of
yeah,
of
yeah,
everything.
yeah. I mean, the good thing is that one thing I found with a lot of artists is they don't ship internationally just because it's a complete nightmare. So whether you have print on demand for like you do have your physical prints in your country where you are, and then have like the print on demand stuff for overseas, maybe. I don't know. I'm
I
still
don't
trying to
know.
figure all these things out.
I keep wanting to do the NFT with the physical, um, but it's the logistics headaches that hold me back on that. I want to offer that, but I also like it's hard to be like in your NFT, oh, I'm going to offer the physical, but only to people in the United States. It just seems a little,
Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems like
yeah,
I know it
yeah,
has nothing to do with that we're better, but it feels
mm,
like when I'm saying that we're better than but it really is just about the logistics nightmare that I don't
mm,
want to sell this piece, tell you I'm going to ship it to you, and I've taken an account that it's only going to cost this much to ship it to you, and I end up it's going to cost $100 to ship to you, and I'm out of my pocket for it. So
mm,
I really don't know
yeah,
how the people who offer their physicals with their NFTs, how they really go about doing that. I need to inquire
yeah,
about that a little more.
yeah. I did do one of my prints from Uncommon Animals. Actually, Dawn, Dawn, she purchased one of the prints, and so instead I did that. I created that as an original piece on Redbubble and kept it private,
Mm.
so other people couldn't buy it because it was a numbered edition, and I signed it and everything like that digitally, and and that way I could print that and gift it to her from Redbubble, and that way she gets it delivered directly to her. So we don't have to send it all the way from Australia. And you can send framed or canvas or whatever.
Oh,
And
I didn't know you could do that on Redbubble.
yeah, you can keep them private and just do if you want to do a one of one or something like that, and then you can send it direct to them. But yeah,
Huh.
it's it's just a matter, but they still take
That's
you
still
know
not the
all,
actual original,
no, no. And that's the hard thing with digital work, I find as well. Like, people who are creating paintings, you have the original piece, but when you're creating digitally, it's hard to, sell that as a one of one because, who says it's a one of one? It's a digital piece.
Yeah.
But it also is an NFT which says it's a one of one piece. So I suppose you're relying on the honesty of the artist to say that this is the only time this has appeared, um, and you're buying that as a one of one. So yeah, it's
I do think there's a difference, because some people get a little bent when it's a one of one, and I've got it on my print shop, but I gave you a one of one for $5. It didn't give you
mm,
the artist's right to, I didn't give you my complete artistic rights with
y
the $5
no,
purchase.
no,
I
and you
still
don't give
feel
them
like I
copyright
can
either.
print if I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, really, when you think back to more traditional styles as well, that's like, so you'll have the original piece that's hanging, a quite famous piece, which is hanging in the art gallery. You can still go and buy postcards with that
Yeah, you can
painting on
still
it, or you
buy
can
a
buy,
copy
or,
of the
or
Mona
you can, or you
Lisa.
can buy prints of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
So, it's
yeah, I
not
don't know
the
why people
ownership of
get
the
so
original
bent
thing.
over this one. Oh, you can't sell it anymore, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tricky thing you've got to kind of weigh up in your mind from the beginning. I've kind of like weighing it up in my mind already deep in the process, and I'm going, what is a physical product? What's an NFT? How many print runs can I do without devaluing? But how many NFTs can you make of something without devaluing the value of that NFT?
Exactly.
It's you can lose yourself in that sometimes. and and I think you just got to keep making the art. How do you keep track of, because you must have across so many platforms and so many pieces of artwork that you have now. Do you have a database or something like that, because a way of keeping track of
It
what
is
is where
so
and how many
getting
copies
to
you've
where
got?
I'm starting to lose track of where things are. I used to could
Yeah,
really easy tell you where something was, but now somebody's like, "Oh, I love this piece. Where can I find it?" I'm like, you could probably find it on secondary at," and then I start going, "Oh God, where was this?"
yeah,
So, it can be difficult sometimes. I'm definitely getting into this mode of where I'm like, okay, I cannot keep all these files. I just can't.
yes, that as well. Yeah,
Um, so yeah, a lot of it's in the cloud but
yeah,
I do find hard times though. Sometimes I'll post something and I know it was from a long time ago. I'll just reshare it just to reshare it. It's sold.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but sometimes I'll instead of just putting like a simple little good morning with it and the picture, I'll be like, oh, maybe I should
yeah,
where this is at, and then I'll go, oh, where is this at? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I'm just at that stage where I need to create a database, and I need to know where everything is, because yeah, I've gotten to that point where I go, have I already minted this somewhere else?
Oh,
And
that's
on a
getting tricky
platform
too now.
that is
Mainly with
active,
the AI.
Yeah, yeah,
Mainly with the AI, because I'll sit late at night. I do AI while I'm watching TV. It's not a big
yeah,
to do like I'm doing my art, where I kind of just put on music and concentrate on my art. But
mm,
I'll sit there and I'll do AI, and then I'll be, oh, that's a good piece. And then I'll just kind of put it to the side. But I know it's a good piece, but sometimes I forget whether I've minted it or not. When I go
yeah,
back in, I'm like, did I ever mint that piece? And then I'll just have to go search all my platforms. And
mm,
yeah, is that gets a little tricky because you can sit there and do
yeah,
crazy amount of AI pieces in no time, and you got 30 of them sitting there, and you're like, did I mint any of these? I don't know.
yeah, yeah. How do you make your AI work so personally recognizable? Like a lot of AI, I mean, because I've just started dabbling in it a bit as well, and I've got it my way that I make it a bit more feels like it's my personal style. But I can tell when I'm looking at a piece of your work.
Oh,
Um, how do you? I mean that just does that come down to maybe your style and personal taste? I'm not sure.
I don't
Do you
know.
just
I do like that you say that because I feel like there are some artists that I look at their AI work and I'm like, oh, you
yeah?
know whose that is, but I didn't think I had that
Oh, you
going
definitely do.
on.
Yeah. Hmm.
I was like, does my
Even when you're doing a completely different series, like you might be doing the Girls Can Do, or you might be doing like the ones where you've got animal heads on historic figures and stuff like that, but it's still got that same vibe somehow. And also the Drowning series, it's all got the same vibe. So you're onto something there.